Hi everyone, this video is going to concentrate on reviewing for you and comparing e.l.f.'s brand new Hydrating Camo Concealer to the original 16-hour Camo Concealer. So if you want to know my thoughts on what the formula is like and you want to see how it applies and wears and which one I think is better for certain purposes and certain skin types, then this is the video for you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by hitting that red subscribe button, hit that notification bell, follow Allura Beauty on Instagram, and of course, if you missed the latest video, that was the very first What's New in Beauty video for 2020. It was an epic video of a whole bunch of new products that have just launched on the market, maybe some sneak peeks of products that are coming up. So I will link that in the upper right hand corner for you to see and check out if you haven't seen it already. And of course, if you end up liking this video and it was helpful, then please remember to give the video a like. So here are the two concealers side by side. First, let's just look up close at these, and I'm going to do swatches on the arms, and I'm going to just give you up close shots so you can kind of see the color and the finishes and probably the coverage, hopefully. The last I checked, these are not currently available through e.l.f.'s own website. All of the shades are marked as unavailable, so I think it's sort of coming soon on that website. That or they all sold out on all the shades, which I don't think is likely, but you can purchase it currently through Target, and it also should be available through Ulta. Retails for $5.99 on Target and $6 everywhere else. And for the price, you're going to get 0.203 fluid ounces. Description for the original version by e.l.f. is this is a full coverage 16-hour wear concealer featuring a large doe foot applicator to conceal, correct, contour, and highlight for flawless skin. The highly pigmented formula is lightweight, dries matte, and won't settle into fine lines or creases, ideal for all skin types. For the hydrating version, they say, our Camo Concealer just got better. Our new lightweight, full coverage formula doesn't flake and gives your skin a boost of hydration for a satin finish. Camouflage those pesky spots and under eye circles with this high coverage, hydrating, and long wearing concealer. These products are cruelty-free and vegan. So it's interesting when you look at and compare the ingredients in each of the concealers with each other. They share mostly common ingredients. The formula is not that drastically different. They both contain plenty of butylene glycol and dimethicones. What I found interesting is that the original version actually has avocado oil in it, and the hydrating version does not. I feel like you would think that the avocado oil would be in the hydrating version, but something that I thought was curious. What is very prevalent in the hydrating version that you don't see in the original version is propylene glycol, which is something that will help moisturize the skin or hydrate the skin. Propylene glycol is a humectant. So that's the third ingredient, it looks like, in the hydrating version of the concealer, and I don't see it anywhere in the original version. So my guess is that much of the hydrating nature of the hydrating formula comes from that ingredient. For the packaging, we can see that they come in clear plastic tubes. The original has black writing on it with a black handle, and the hydrating version has white writing with a white handle. They both have the same big, oversized doe foot applicators. Now, I purchased both of these in the same shade, light sand, but you can immediately see just from looking at the tubes that they are not the same shade. e.l.f. says on their website that the original dries down to a deeper color. So they say to not judge basically the color that's in the tube, that you should look at swatches to determine the color. We're going to judge for ourselves by swatching these two, and when you see them applied to my face, whether you agree with e.l.f. or not. e.l.f. says that both of these are similar in that they're full coverage and they have that large doe foot applicator. They say that the original is intended for normal and oily skin, while the hydrating one is intended for normal and dry skin, which makes sense. The original comes in now 26 shades. It says 8 of those are new, and the hydrating one is available in 25 shades. So I'm going to first apply light sand in the original 16-hour Camo Concealer. And right next to it, we're going to apply light sand in the hydrating version. Okay, so that's what they look like side by side. Now, of course, this is just after applying the swatches, so I'm gonna let these set for a full 2 minutes and check back in with you. Okay, so at this point, it's been more than 2 minutes. You can see that some parts of the swatches are dry and others are still kind of damp. Let's take a look up close. So I agree that the original definitely does deepen in color, but it's still not, I wouldn't even say close to a shade match, color match to the hydrating version. So just be aware of that when you're jumping over to the hydrating version if you're going to do that. And then e.l.f. says that for the original, you're going to get a matte finish, and for the hydrating, you're going to get a satin one, which I think is pretty accurate. Let's go ahead and see. You can kind of already see the comparison here between the swipe, the part of the swipe that's not dried yet, but just to give you side by side. Look at that shade difference. Wow, the deepening of color is pretty drastic between when you first swatch the original Camo concealer and how it dries down. So there's the comparison in the tube. That initial swatch is definitely matching the color you see in the tube, but they're correct that the color you should expect on your skin once you have applied it is not going to be what you see in the tube initially. All right, now let's move on to actually applying these to the face and looking at what the finish looks like, what the coverage you get is, and how much we like the way they look either under the eyes or on the face. My main interest was comparing these for use underneath the eye area, because that's the part of the face that usually has the most dramatic difference when it comes to emphasis on any fine lines or crepiness or dryness. So I was trying to see whether the hydrating concealer would give people who find the original concealer too drying underneath the eyes any significant improvement in the way that it looks in that area. So you can see in these video clips that on the left side I applied and tested the original concealer, and then on the right side of my face I applied and wore the hydrating version of the concealer. And as you saw with the swatches, one of the first things you immediately see is that the shades do not match, even though it's the same shade name and they're supposed to match. You can see that the original version of Light Sand is significantly lighter and arguably can give you a more brightening effect, and the hydrating version of Light Sand is not as light and more yellow toned. That happens to work for my skin tone, which is about an NC20 in MAC, but that is something to note for people who expect to get the same tone and lightness out of the hydrating version, which is not going to be the case. I think these concealers are pretty similar with coverage. I don't know that I would really say these are full coverage concealers. I would call them medium to full coverage. They both have that liquidy cream consistency and texture, but I think the original version is a little more difficult to blend out and pat in. It gives you a little bit more resistance. The hydrating version does seem to spread over the skin more easily and take less time to pat it out, and it is more forgiving in terms of how much time you can let pass before you pat it underneath the eyes. I find that with the original version, I'd want to do one eye at a time probably, instead of applying the concealer to both eyes underneath them and then patting them out, because it kind of dries down fairly quickly, and then I'm having to use more pressure than I want to in order to blend the concealer out. Whereas with the hydrating version, I don't get that experience. I find that it's easier to blend the product out and pat it into the skin. And again, as you can see from the video clips, I do think that the original version can give you a little bit more of an emphasis of any fine lines that you may have, because it doesn't have as much of a thin or creamy liquidy texture, and the hydrating version is more forgiving underneath the eye area. I don't think that the difference is dramatic, even though it is noticeable, but if you do have more mature skin or you have really significant problems with dryness under the eyes, then the hydrating version is absolutely the one you're going to want to go with. What I really think that the original version is superior at doing is concealing spots on the other planes of the face. So things like covering up blemishes or dark spots, as opposed to necessarily use under the eyes. Because that more setting, dry, less spreading texture allows you to better have spot concealing and have that concealer stick to and adhere to the skin. This shade and this formula does a great job because in the past month or so, I have had acne breakouts on my cheeks on both sides, very similar places, and the original version does a great job of covering those up. You get a lot of product in that tube and you only need a little bit to cover up spots. Those are my thoughts on the new hydrating concealer versus the original camo concealer. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope this video was helpful to you and that you enjoyed watching. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.